BlackBerry was previously a market leader in smartphones. Now that the firm has abandoned its operating system, the once legendary phones are effectively outdated. So, what went wrong? Hey everyone, how are you doing today? Before we proceed with this video, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Kindly click on the notification bell to get updates on our exciting content. BlackBerry's tale encapsulates the IT industry's soaring rises and tragic falls. Disruptive technology has created and eaten a billion-dollar firm by changing the market landscape so swiftly and dramatically. In just a few years, BlackBerry dropped from nearly 20% of the worldwide mobile market share to almost nothing. Let's take a look at BlackBerry's rise and fall. We must go back to the 1980s in Canada to begin the BlackBerry story. BlackBerry began as a business named Research in Motion, or HAIM for short, in Canada. Mike Lazaridis and Douglas Friggin, two engineering students, began Research in Motion in 1984. The company began by developing wireless communication network technology. The first two-way messaging pager was introduced by Research in Motion in 1996, and the firm was traded openly on the Toronto Stock Exchange by 1997. Another pager, with a full QWERTY keyboard, which later became iconic with the BlackBerry brand, was one of the first items to use the BlackBerry moniker. In fact, the shape and feel of the keys on their keyboard inspired the moniker BlackBerry. The device's key strength was its ability to integrate with email. This provided the first easy-to-use, on-the-go access to email for corporate users and executive sales reps. And this was a significant event. And it would be here that BlackBerry would find a market. The following model would include phone capabilities, something that had never been done particularly well before. There was a competition to dominate the newly emerging portable space in the 1990s. Palm, Ericsson, and IBM all had a stake in the game. With the Apple Newton and a stylus, even Apple attempted. Because the software was inadequate, the latter turned out to be a disaster. BlackBerry approached the market from an entirely new perspective. What none of the large firms in the 1990s knew was that bandwidth was relatively restricted for data transmissions they planned to develop. Mike, the company's founder, was well aware of this constraint. He had designed an instrument within the BlackBerry devices that distributed the bits of data communication in such a way that the networks were not overloaded. So, while others were asking exorbitant prices for something that barely worked over the internet, BlackBerry devices simply worked. This, paired with a keyboard that could be used to perform calculations, gave BlackBerry a clear advantage. Guerrilla marketing was another factor in BlackBerry's success. Employees from BlackBerry would frequently attend conferences and see business folks using bulky computers. BlackBerry staff would give these individuals a free BlackBerry to try for a month. As corporate customers switched from computers to BlackBerries, tremendous word-of-mouth marketing arose. The devices quickly became a requirement that swept the business sector. The phone was simply more useful than other phones at the time. BlackBerry's popularity quickly spread to non-business customers, and BlackBerry sought to cater to them as well, increasing the number of features available to the average user. The Blackberry Pearl was the company's first foray into this new territory. It has multimedia features, like a camera, and came with BlackBerry Messenger, a new service. Until the mid-2000s, most service providers charged each text message. Back then, this was the most prevalent method of communication. But, like iMessage and iPhones today, BlackBerry Messenger used internet data to send cheap and speedy texts. It was nothing short of groundbreaking at the time. It allowed consumers to get out of their text message-only plans. BlackBerry became incredibly popular as a result of this breakthrough, and it was soon everywhere. At its peak, the business held a 20% share of the global smartphone industry and a 50% share of the US market. In the world of technology, it was a Goliath. Its consumers included both young and senior professionals, as well as casual users. The company's market position was extremely strong. So, how did everything go so wrong? It was 2007. George W. Bush was president. The first Transformers movie had just come out, and Windows Vista was still relatively new when Steve Jobs took the stage at Macworld to discuss a new product Apple was developing. It combined the functions of a phone, a tiny computer, a web browser, and an email machine into one gadget. Meanwhile, in Canada, Mike Lazaridis, the founder of BlackBerry, looked at Steve Jobs' announcement and exclaimed, "With the networks, this is impossible. This would be impossible for it to carry. It's ridiculous that anyone would propose something like this." Mike was, in fact, correct. The iPhone's cause was abandoned, and Apple was hit with lawsuits for a product that just didn't work. But after a few difficulties, the iPhone started to work, and Mike realized he was completely wrong. The iPhone took the globe by storm in just 2 years. Users and developers were enthralled by its interactive multi-touch capacitive touchscreen. They were already followers by the time BlackBerry recognized what a serious threat this was. To compound the problem, Android phones such as HTC began to appear on the market, eroding barriers and increasing competition. This was a first for BlackBerry, as they had previously had few formidable competitors. Sony Ericsson, Nokia, and Motorola were also present. BlackBerry, on the other hand, was positioned as a luxury mobile phone brand. Then, everything changed in the blink of an eye. The iPhone outperformed the BlackBerry in a number of areas. A larger screen allows for more capacitive touch contact, improved multimedia playback as well as a camera, but it was the browser that really set the two apart. The BlackBerry screen was substantially smaller for rendering photos, which limited how the layout could be displayed. The iPhone blew its opponent out of the water, with its roughly doubled screen size, allowing for more ways to interact with the page. Not only that, but most of my interactions with the device felt more natural as well. BlackBerry, on the other hand, was not about to give up the fight. Contrary to popular opinion, BlackBerry was still doing well at the time. They're growing into Indonesia, India, and other countries. They were a massive corporation that had to establish new factories to meet demand. BlackBerry reacted when the iPhone's original network problem was resolved. The next phone would have a considerably larger screen, while still paying respect to the famed QWERTY keyboard. This time, a slide-down tab was used. The problem with BlackBerry was that it was attempting to compete in a dynamic market by upgrading its physical features while maintaining a relatively identical operating system. BlackBerry quickly understood this and responded by replacing their Java-based OS with a new OS built on the Q and X programming languages. However, because developers disliked Q and X, many chose to develop apps for Android and Apple instead, where they could reach a much larger audience. In the end, BlackBerry was caught in a destructive feedback loop. Fewer third-party apps meant fewer people were interested in purchasing BlackBerry devices. As a result, there were rarer people to sell their apps to. As a result, there would be fewer apps for BlackBerry from developers. And so, the destructive cycle goes on. BlackBerry had dropped from the most popular mobile brand to third in less than a year. They changed the operating system yet again in an attempt to save BlackBerry. However, they have now jumped ship to their competitors by adopting the Android operating system. Unfortunately, this move demonstrated that BlackBerry was no longer distinct from any other Android phone, and that it had no competitive advantage in this rapidly growing market. As a result, they naturally shifted their focus to software development. The company now focuses primarily on security and enterprise software. Cell phones are still manufactured. However, they only make up 0.05% of the global market. BlackBerry was unquestionably killed by Android and the iPhone. But it was BlackBerry who gave them permission to do so. They were at the top, and it was easy to become complacent. BlackBerry's models didn't really demonstrate any significant advancements or intriguing new technology to entice you to replace your old one. They simply continued to make the same phone model over and over. The cameras did improve a little, and there were some new capabilities added here and there. but not to the extent that Apple and Android devices had at the time. BlackBerry had ceased to compete. It sat on its hands until competitors overtook it, at which point it awoke and began playing catch-up. Furthermore, their management lacked vision. Instead of listening to customers, they pushed the company to do what they felt they wanted. In 2010, Jim Balsillie, the former co-CEO of BlackBerry, was cited as saying that the iPhone may have 300,000 apps, but the only app you need is your browser. This may exemplify the company's hard-headed attitude and lack of vision, which would ultimately lead to its demise. In various ways, the company's leadership failed. To begin with, they overlooked the fact that non-business consumers will eventually drive the market. Second, they did not respond well to the new app economy that has made the iPhone and Android devices so popular. Finally, they underestimated the evolution of mobile devices from simple communication devices to full-fledged entertainment gadgets. Although BlackBerry still makes phones, they could have been the Apple of today if they had responded to the iPhone sooner. It would not have been simple, but it was certainly doable. That is the story of BlackBerrys Rise and Fall. Thank you for watching this video. Do you own a BlackBerry? And if so, would you prefer to see BlackBerry continue to dominate the smartphone market? Please, share your assertions in the comments box below. If this video was insightful for you, then go on and like this video. Please, kindly subscribe to our channel and click on the bell button for more of our updates.